Hi, and welcome to another edition of Seniors Today. I'm your host, Tom Bartee, and today our guest is Mr. Ollie Ehlinger from the Vallejo office of Northern California Legal Services. Welcome.
Tom, thank you so much for having me.
So you are the manager of the local office here, or the acting manager, or?
I am confirmed, so I am the managing attorney of the Vallejo office of Legal Services in Northern California. And we cover all of Solano County out of our office.
And you're a nonprofit?
We are. So Legal Services of Northern California is the nonprofit civil legal aid provider for the counties in California, well, most of them, north of the Bay Area. And what civil legal aid is free civil advice, advocacy, and representation for low-income, disabled, or senior residents of any given area. And so my organization, centered in Sacramento with 8 offices across the North State, we provide those services to folks who have some civil legal questions, something about their housing rights or their benefit rights, or consumer law question, educational rights, criminal record remedies, employment rights. There's a wide range of areas of law we do. And as I said earlier, out of my office we cover only Solano County, and we're located in Vallejo, across from the Vallejo Courthouse at 1810 Capitol Street.
So the boundaries are for your office are the entire county of Solano.
The entire, by virtue of sitting in Vallejo, we get more Vallejoans than we get Rio Vistans or Dixonians, but we are open for services for all those folks.
Yeah, I never heard the term Dixonian, but it sounds appropriate.
If you get angry mail, I'll just say you told me before the break that that's what they're called. So.
Ah, okay. Well, that's cool. I know I've sent a number of people your way, and I can't say that I've ever heard there was an unhappy customer. So apparently you guys are doing good work.
Well, we police our Google reviews pretty stringently, but folks who end up with a legal issue, whether it's a civil issue or whether it's a criminal issue, it's a difficult time in their life, right? And sometimes it's an immediate crisis. Sometimes it's something that could cause them to lose their housing in the next week, in the next few days. And so it's a high demand and with short turnovers, and so oftentimes there's more folks who need more done than we can handle, and we try and do our best to give everybody a little bit when they walk out of our office, even if it's just understanding their rights, as opposed to we can't solve every problem. We have currently we have 4 attorneys. 2 new ones will start at the end of the month, but that's an office of 6 or 7 attorneys covering a population. We think there are about 90,000 people in Solano County who could be eligible for our services. And sometimes it's just a question that the demand is very high. A lot of folks are running into a lot of issues as things get more expensive to live here. So we do the best we can.
Well, in my job, we do a lot of casework trying to help people. And sometimes we can help people with the bureaucracy of governmental agencies and expedite things, either with Caltrans or DMV or things like that. But a lot of times it comes down to having to engage the services of an attorney because it's some kind of a civil issue. And so it's great to be able to make referrals to you on people that are low-income seniors or disabled. And you guys have always done outstanding follow-up work, as a partnership with us. So I really appreciate having you guys here in town. So is your organization only the North Bay counties and centered in Sacramento, or are there other similar organizations throughout the state of California?
There are indeed other organizations across the state. So I might get in the weeds here a bit, Tom, but every county has a pot of federal money available to provide civil legal services, right? And so the organization that has the pot of money for Solano County is us, is Legal Services of Northern California. The organization that has the pot of money for Alameda County or Contra Costa County is called Bay Area Legal Services. They are Bay Area Legal Aid. They also have the pot of money to do legal work in Napa County. And so folks might come to our office from American Canyon. I might work in Vallejo, have family in Vallejo, have all their connections are with Vallejo, but we're unable to assist them because of where our funding comes from.
Mm-hmm.
We take funding from other sources, such as from the state, to assist people with their health rights issues. And so health rights broadly refers to access to health care, getting on or staying on insurance, things of that nature. And under that grant, we serve folks regardless of their income in other counties beyond our main counties in the North State. So I think some lucky attorney gets to travel down to Ventura sometimes or Santa Cruz sometimes to help out the folks down there with their health issues.
Mm.
And then our organization also offers pension right assistance. So folks who may be entitled to a pension from a spouse that they're not receiving, or they've worked for an employer for some terms of years and they're not getting paid out in their pension the way they should. And that's called the Western States Pension Assistance Project. They're based in Sacramento, but they cover, oh Lord, I think Washington on down to Arizona, catching California in the middle, and they also cover Hawaii. So pensioners sitting on the beach in Maui, if they have a question, they'll call up and they'll get an attorney sitting in Sacramento.
Hmm.
So we have a little bit of an empire, I guess you could say.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it is cool because it allows us to, when someone has a legal issue or an issue in their life that spills over into a legal issue, it's never in isolation, right? Someone's not falling behind on their rent because everything's going great with their job, or if someone's benefits are cut off incorrectly and they shouldn't be cut off, it's not going to have no effect, right? They might end up getting evicted or not being able to drive to work or not be able to make a car payment. Nothing's in isolation. So the more types of areas of work we do, the better we can provide a holistic service to our clients and making sure that we're not fixing just one issue. We're trying to give them the tools to set themselves on a track where they don't have to come back to our office again, as great as we might be.
And you are a great organization.
We appreciate that.
If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of your organization?
Of course. So I believe that we have got the number flashing on the screen at some time in my title card here, but our phone line is 707-643-0054. We have one very dedicated staff member who's greeting folks as they come through the door and answering the phones. So she may not be able to pick up the phone when you call, and if you leave a message, we will make sure that we try and schedule someone for an appointment. And so folks across the county can call. Folks who are in Vallejo are able to step into our office on Capitol Street. We're open Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Friday mornings for new clients. And if there's not an attorney available to see you, we'll have to make an appointment to do that. But we're generally able to give folks an appointment about 48 hours after they contact us. And if your issue is urgent, we make sure that we try and take care of it right then and there. Like I said, there's a lot of demand. A lot of folks need a lot of things, and so we try and do the best we can to fit folks in as they're needed. And so sometimes I know getting through our phones can be a little frustrating, but it's simply because a lot of your friends and neighbors are here as well.
Capitol Street, where you're located, is real close to the courthouse in Vallejo then too, right?
That's correct. We're right across Tuolumne from the Vallejo courthouse.
All right, so conveniently located in the heart of Vallejo.
Well, exactly. But unfortunately, a lot of the cases we handle, the clerk is now located only in Fairfield, and so that makes sometimes getting paperwork in on time a little difficult. And so we if folks think they have a legal issue that involves something in the civil court, we encourage them to contact us sooner rather than later, because sometimes getting to Fairfield can be an issue.
So when did they move the clerk? When did they centralize that?
Someone was asking me this yesterday, Tom, and I recall 2013 filing something here in Vallejo. So it must have been after that.
Wow.
And as the Judge Ellis, the presiding judge of the Solano Superior Court, says, so every time he gives his spiel about the status of the courts, that the courts have been the last agency, the last arm of the government that sort of recovered their funding after the budget shortfall, and so they're overworked and understaffed as well.
Well, that's unfortunate, but it's good, I guess, that they're reacting to their budgetary constraints. Does the casework that you receive change over the course of time, and what would be the majority of things that you're getting now?
So that's a great question. We track the type of work we do for folks, and so as kind of a baseline, we serve about 1,300 folks a year directly with casework, and we probably serve about twice as many through community presentations every year. And so we roughly follow what type of law or what type of service we provide folks. And about 3 or 4 years ago, about 90% of our cases had to do with people's housing. So people who are renting, having renters questions, or people who are renting who might be in the eviction process, people who have vouchers or are trying to get Section 8 vouchers, and people in mobile homes with mobile home issues, or people who are homeowners who might have been facing foreclosure issues. It's about 90% of our casework. And I don't think the need for that has changed, but you know, in trying to, you can assist someone with one legal issue one day and clear up a small issue, and as I was talking about earlier, then see them back in your office 4 months later for the same issue if you don't correct the problem. You might always be behind on your rent if you can't get the job you're looking for. And maybe you can't get the job you're looking for because you have you know, an old misdemeanor conviction on your criminal record. And so thinking about trying to get to those root causes of what might make someone, you know, have economic issues or financial issues, we tried to start shifting our focus. And so last year when we tracked our cases, you know, we were down from that 90% of cases you know, in housing work, not because housing's gotten more affordable or because there's a ton more of it, but just because we've shifted our focus. We've gotten down to about 63% of our cases were housing, I think, and we've increased the amount of employee rights we've done, and we've increased the amount of criminal record remedies that we've helped folks provide, and that's where someone who has an old conviction on their record is eligible to get it dismissed or downgraded from a misdemeanor to infraction, so that when they're looking for a job or when they're looking for housing or when they're looking for a vocational license to be a contractor, to be a nurse, to be a home health care aide, it's easier for them to do that. And so, you know, those cases have started to take up a larger amount of our time. And I'd also say that in partnership with the county, through some of their services for folks, they've asked us, or they've sent more folks who are trying to get veterans or Social Security benefits to us. And so we've started to assist with a few more of those types of cases. But it really is a variety. I wish I had sort of my current case list open now so I could tell you. You know, there's always something interesting that I forget to tell folks when they ask.
Well, if you do 1,300 a year, that means you could have 100 open cases at any given time.
But that's probably accurate for our office. Between all the attorneys, we're all probably assisting anywhere from 20 to 40 clients at a given time.
Yeah, well, it's nice to have job security.
Well, the funny thing is, you know, by virtue of being a nonprofit, we rely on many sources of funding, right? Government sources, foundational sources, and those sources tend to dry up when there's a recession, and then when people are hurting more. So when people need our services the most, you know, that's when we're under the most pressure as well. But you know, it's sort of it's the nature of having the privilege of being able to go out there and help our neighbors in the way we do.
Are you able to create a budget reserve for the dry times on funding?
Well, yes. So you know, thank goodness most of the accounting and budgeting is handled with our fantastic financial unit in Sacramento, because as I said, we have quite the empire. But you know, and those folks are experts at what they do, and so they're able to, you know, wherever it's allowable by our sources of funding, you know, provide a rollover or whatever they call that account, they've done so. So, yeah, our executive, so Tom, you had brought up, you know, other organizations in the state that do what we do. There were some pretty lean times for folks who do this type of work in 2011 and 2012, and many organizations had to downsize and let, you know, dedicated paralegals and clerks and attorneys who want to do good work and want to go out there and help their neighbors, they had to let them go because there wasn't the funding. And luckily, I think our executive unit in Sacramento has the foresight and the cautious planning such that when those lean times hit us, we didn't have to let any attorneys go. And so I'm confident if that were to happen again, we'd still be able to keep our doors open and help the folks of Vallejo and Solano as best we could.
Do you ever accept interns into your organization?
So we do. We are so we accept volunteers of all stripes. We have a centralized volunteer coordinator at Sacramento, and we've been blessed with volunteer attorneys. The gentleman who had my job way back in 1980, when his hair was a giant afro, and that was considered professional, he's come back and he's volunteering his time with us after retiring from the legal profession altogether, and we're thankful to have him. And we had a retired Napa County commissioner, which is like a judge, come and volunteer his time with us and to help those neighbors. And so we were happy to have those volunteer attorneys. And so we're always looking for volunteer attorneys. And as far as interns go, we would take law students during the semester and summer law during their summers. We have a set summer clerkship program that folks have to apply to. And as far as maybe folks who aren't law students yet, who are thinking about it, they can apply as volunteers as well. We've had a few of them in our office, and gave them a flavor of the practice of law in general, and then the practice of the type of law we do, and a few projects we needed help on, and hopefully they've went away and maybe not run away from the law altogether.
Do you ever work with lawyer in the library?
So we refer folks to them if it's areas well beyond our expertise, like a very complicated will or a very complicated family law case. And then lawyer in the library, which I was talking to the staff here. That's a fantastic organization, and all those attorneys are great attorneys. We know a lot of them who volunteer their time, and so they know to send folks to us when they can't go beyond the 20, 30 minutes that they're able to assist folks. But that's a fantastic program.
Do you have any judges that volunteer? Any former judges?
So I said we had a volunteer who used to be a Napa County commissioner, and so it was great to have his expertise.
Just commissioner. The reason I ask is that in the last 12 months, I think Solano County had 10 or more judges retire. So there's probably a pool of opportunity there.
Well, we work closely with Judge Healy, who runs the drug court out of Vallejo, and he's a good supporter of us in that sometimes he'll just come chat with us and help the younger lawyers see law from his perspective, and that's useful. But as far as I know that Judge Kay's retired recently, Judge Fracchia I think is retiring sometime soon. I think we'll let those folks take a deep breath before we give them the full court press to come help us out.
Yeah, no pun intended on that one. Well, that's very cool. So what would be, right now, if you were to talk about your biggest case, maybe like your landmark decision case, what would that be?
So I guess I can think of two different cases, Tom. Right now we're working with the residents in Strawberry Hills and Holiday Gardens, these are two complexes in Vallejo, apartment complexes with maybe I think 80 units in one and 60 units in another, and they were purchased by a San Francisco-based housing company, and the new owner proposed to raise the rents about double for many of the folks who live there. Many of the folks who live there, they're retired, they're on a fixed income, they're or they're making ends meet by working 2 or 3 jobs, and it just wasn't a rental increase can go into effect very quickly, and it wasn't feasible for them to pay this. And they did some great advocacy on their own and reached out to elected officials, and we're also assisting them, telling them what the law is and talking to the new owner's attorneys, and I do think that hopefully we'll be able to work something out so folks don't feel like they have to leave their homes in a month or two. So it's been very gratifying to be a part of that, because that's been, I think, a Vallejo community effort to assist folks, and we've seen everybody from the mayor to pastors and rabbis getting involved in helping folks out, and really neighbors pulling together. Because sometimes where there's not a legal solution, there's a social solution or a political solution, and that might be the best for them. And it does look like everyone's coming to the table with the right attitude, and so you can only get good results out of that. I think a second big case of ours we were very excited to take a case to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is the federal appeals court one step below the Supreme Court. And it was on a gentleman who was denied for Social Security benefits because in the area where he lives, there wasn't a medical doctor who could come out there and see him as often as he needed with the insurance he had. So his doctor was a nurse practitioner, and she did a fantastic job, and she saw him so many times. But Social Security said, well, because it's not a medical doctor, we're not going to believe what they have to say. We're going to weigh their opinion less, and we don't think you deserve the assistance that your medical provider thinks you deserve. And so we took that case to federal court in Sacramento, and when we didn't get the decision that we thought was correct, we tried to appeal it to the level below the Supreme Court, but we ended up settling that case, so I don't have to comb my hair and put on a tie and drive down to San Francisco and put on a show. And so we're happy that our client gets what he needs. But that was quite a lift. And the reason we would take a case like that, because that takes away hours of our time. That takes taking a case like that and going to court on any case means we have to turn away 5 other folks who are at our door. Yeah. And the reason we would take a case like that is because so many of the folks who we help, the type of medical care, the level of medical care they can get is not what they need for their conditions, right? They can't see a doctor as often as they need to. They can't see the specialist they need. And so it would be worth it for us to have gone up there and got a decision that makes a federal agency such as Social Security understand that, this is the type of medical care people get, and this is the type of medical opinion about their condition that's just as valid as the doctor that you assigned to see them one time for 20 minutes. And so we brought that case because we thought it could make an impact for folks in Vallejo, for folks in Redding, for folks in Modoc, for folks in Chico, for folks we see coming in and out of our office. And we won't get to make that big impact because we settled that case, but that's how we think about cases. We give everyone what we can, and we try and look at the cases that will make the biggest impact for the folks who come through our offices.
One thing about settling a case, though, is that it doesn't become legal precedent.
That's exactly right.
So you may have to do it again.
We may have to do it again. Luckily, in the duration of this litigation, because it takes a while to get to that level, the regulations on how Social Security views people's medical evidence have changed, and we think it's something that's helpful for folks, especially folks in these rural counties that we assist, who may not always have an MD for each specialty coming through every time. And so I think that will help them with their claims, and not just in Social Security, but in veterans benefits and things of that nature. So, but we do try and look to make an impact.
So for people that are watching this show and they go, whoa, I didn't know I could get that kind of help. How do you define low income, and how do you define a senior?
Of course. So that's a great question. So low income is very specifically defined by something called the Federal Poverty Index, which is a calculation put out by the federal government. It's a Department of Health and Human Services. It's updated every year, and it's basically a measure of how much someone can purchase out of the consumer price index, the amount of goods that go into the consumer price index, right? So and all this is to say that it's kind of a relative measure and not an absolute measure. And so it's the same for folks. It's the same level for folks, in Mississippi as it is in San Francisco, right? And so it's not always an accurate reflection of when someone is struggling, right? A lot of times, we wish we could help folks more, and they're right above our limits, and because we take this federal money, that we're required to follow their guidelines. And those folks say, I'm having a hard time too. And the answer to that is you absolutely are. And I wish there was more available to you, and we try and point folks to where we can. But those cutoffs are hard. And so that's the Federal Poverty Index. But practically speaking, folks don't need to look that up when they call our office or come into our office. We're able to ascertain very quickly if they meet those guidelines. And so that's the main income determination for our clients. Anyone who's 60 and above, we can help regardless of their income. So 60 is how we define senior. And I know other places in the law define it as 55, other places define it as 65.
And
I guess we
AARP
split that difference, yeah.
AARP, I think, is 50.
Oh.
But they're trying to increase the membership.
Right.
Yeah.
Smart move. I guess we're trying to stem the tide, but we're at 60. So anyone who's 60 and above can come in regardless of their income.
Oh, okay. So if somebody doesn't quite meet the threshold, either income, age, or whatever, is there somewhere you send them?
So you mentioned lawyer in the library. We would refer someone to lawyer in the library. We would refer someone to any legal or any publicly available legal resources. The California court and the Solano court have many good resources available. We refer folks to the law library, and we do refer folks to the Solano County Lawyer Referral Service. It's a service of vetted attorneys put on by the Solano County Bar Association.
Yeah.
They charge for a consultation, but sometimes it's sort of the best way to find an attorney, or even determine if you need one.
Okay. So let's say I've called you, I have an appointment, I'm going to come in to have you take a look at my case. What do you normally ask people to bring with them to be ready when they get there?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. And the answer basically is any document you want us to take a look at. If you got a notice, if your issues about your benefit with a government agency, any notices you receive from them. If your issue is about renting, right, your lease. If your issue is about your mortgage, any modifications or any account statements, basically. If you've received a document or you're receiving documents that you have questions about, that's what we need to see. Other than that, if folks are not U.S. citizens, sometimes we do need to see proof of their immigration status, so a green card or a passport with an arrival stamp. But those are very specific, and so we usually make sure that we communicate that to someone as we set them an appointment.
All right. Well, we're believe it or not, we're almost out of time.
I could talk forever, huh?
Yeah. Well, not really, but it goes by quickly when you're having fun. So, is there anything that you want to share with our audience as we wrap up?
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely would. I would say that for many issues, and many things that happen, legal issues that pop up, the best thing we can do for folks is make them better advocates for themselves, make them understand the law, not just in the issue they came in with, but around it, so that they're educated when things happen again. Because there are not enough attorneys doing the type of work we do, or almost doing any type of work, to assist everyone 100% on every legal problem. And so the best thing we can do is educate folks to be aggressive consumers of their own rights.
Well, I thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Tom.
It's reassuring to know that we have bright and intelligent people standing there ready to help us if we need it. And I know that you probably could be a Supreme Court law clerk or something like that, but I know I appreciate people that care enough about their fellow citizens to do this kind of work because it's meaningful and hopefully personally rewarding for you, and I thank you for your service.
Well, I don't know about that Supreme Court clerkship, but I don't own enough Brooks Brothers to get through the screening process, but I appreciate it. We wouldn't, all of us in our office, we wouldn't want to do anything but what we're doing and helping out our neighbors and our brothers and sisters.
Cool. Well, thanks for being here today.
And thank you so much, Tom.
And with that, that's all the time we have for today. Our show airs on Comcast 27, AT&T UVerse 99, and streaming live video at vcat.tv. Come see us again next time. Our show airs at 6 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays, and we'll see you next time.